Dynamic pricing has gone mainstream and made its way into late night TV. Jimmy Kimmel recently performed a sketch on the Jimmy Kimmel show about variable pricing in restaurants that may have raised some eyebrows. In this episode, we'll unpack the humor, we'll sift through the satire, and we'll season it with our reactions. Let's grow. Welcome to the Restaurant Growth Show podcast, where we talk about how operators can use technology to grow their business. We've got a lot to talk about in this episode, but first, let's introduce our co-host. With more than 25 years of experience, Jose Albas has successfully founded and operated companies in software and hospitality. Lastly, who am I? My name is Gordon. I am your host. I have over 16 years in the food service industry with more than a decade in technology startups. This podcast is sponsored by Dynpricing, real-time restaurant profitability. Dynpricing uses artificial intelligence to improve restaurant profitability by dynamically updating menus across digital channels. Jose, what's going on today? What's happening in your world?
My world, not much except, well, actually a lot. I don't know why we always say not much as a default. A lot going on, and I have a birthday party I'm looking forward to today. I didn't know if to shave or not to shave. That is the question.
To shave or not to shave. Yes. Listen.
Yeah.
This Jimmy Kimmel sketch. First of all, we're going to show the sketch. For those of you who are just listening, we're going to describe what's going on in the scene. And then we're going to react to what we think about his portrayal of dynamic pricing in restaurants, whether he's way off base or maybe he could be kind of accurate. Jose, what was your initial reaction when you saw the sketch? This was only 2 nights ago, by the way.
My first reaction was that he's reflecting what the general public may perceive as. And I think that at the same time, he's teaching what to think about it, right? So I wasn't concerned per se. I was more very curious. I find it interesting that this is the way that the topic is out, even though we've been living with dynamic pricing forever. Yeah. We've been using it. We've been learning how to go around it. I mean, in other industries, but that being said, because it's a different industry, applicability, the benefits and all this is completely different. So, you know, he's a comedian. He's gonna grab whatever he can, and I think that given that there's a history of what the joke is about that actually happened, it's fair game to make that joke.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, from an initial standpoint, the jokes weren't all that funny, but let's let the audience be the judge of whether or not they found it funny. He's been in some controversy lately with Aaron Rodgers, that whole back and forth that I don't really want to get into, but Jimmy Kimmel's always sort of at the forefront of what's happening in pop culture and even politically speaking. So let's share the script and then we'll pause as we go through and make our comments as we go. Does that sound good?
That sounds good.
All right. Okay.
Going out to eat might be about to become more expensive or less, depending upon when you do it. A number of businesses are using what they call dynamic pricing to charge more when demand is high, like Uber does. They've done this at golf courses, at bowling alleys, and even some restaurants are charging more for like a 7:30 spot. Can I interest you in a variable rate quesadilla?
Okay, so not a bad little quip there, his first joke, but I want to go back to his actual very first statement about dynamic pricing. And it's important, I think, for everyone to understand that what he said was your meal may be more expensive or it might be less expensive depending on your timing. And I think that's really important because when people hear about dynamic pricing, they confuse it with surge pricing, which we all know with Uber, where rates, skyrocket by 2, 3, 4, 5 times their usual rate. But with restaurant dynamic pricing, the price changes go down as much as they go up, and they don't go up by multiples, right? We're talking about incremental price increases and decreases, 5, 10, 15 cents per menu item. Jose, what's your reaction to the introduction?
Well, the first reaction is simply the moment that they compare it to Uber, that's already off the mark. Anything that comes after that, it's already giving the the worst context. So my first reaction is like that right there already. The consumers that are listening to this are going to be looking for it as such a thing. That has two sides there. On one hand, for the operator, guess what? The consumer will not feel that surge. And on the other side, for the consumer that is looking for it, it's going to be really hard to see it. So relax. There are other things coming. This is just the beginning of the industry. And because it has a different nature, again, and I was explaining this the other day, the fact that it's a just-in-time industry where food deteriorates quickly depending on what it is, some stay longer, people are hungry. It's not this trip that I'm going to get in a couple of months. So the earlier I book it, the best it would be. It would be preposterous to actually treat it like that.
Well said. Let's continue on and see what he has to say.
It's an interesting concept, and to show you how it might work, we put together a dramatic presentation, and here now we are pleased to bring you Food for Thought. Oh, well, hello there. How are you tonight?
Well,
I see you have your drinks. You ready to order?
yes, I'll have the chicken piccata.
Ooh, excellent choice. That will be, let's see, $24.95.
Oh, it says here it's $15.95.
Okay. So there's a little bit to unpack here as well.
Yeah.
Number one, okay, we get it. It's a comedy sketch and it's not real life. They're depicting some price changes in a restaurant. I don't know about you, but that doesn't look like a digital menu. And how on earth would those two prices be different if you're sitting in the restaurant with a physical menu?
Exactly.
Right?
It's like the only time that a waiter will tell you the price of something literally will be when it's like a catch of the day, find out, like it's the fish of the day and it varies according to the day. So this right there is off reality, but yeah, it is a sketch. It's supposed to be funny.
Sure. We'll
But
make that mental leap. Okay, we'll join you in that.
But then again, it's so disingenuous to have the menu with the price and then you're throwing another one on top of it that it's higher. Like you are trapped when you could just complain to anybody that the menu says something, right? So yeah, it's not a digital channel. It's not dynamically to even operate like that, but that's what makes it a joke.
I'm guessing there's a little bit of humor in there, but I don't think that the audience or someone who's heard of dynamic pricing for the first time is going to make that connection. All they're going to be thinking about is, what do you mean you're changing the price as I'm sitting down in this restaurant when I see a price in front of me? How can it be different? And so this is not how dynamic pricing is deployed within a restaurant. Number one, you don't want to use dynamic pricing in store. It's just, it doesn't work this way, as we can point to the case in Stonegate pubs in the UK when they tried to roll it out in-house. It didn't really work and they got some pushback. So number one, let's get it out in the open here. Dynamic pricing doesn't work in-house. It works on third-party delivery and first-party online ordering channels. So digital channels is where dynamic pricing works best. Otherwise, you're going to get some angry customers sitting down to one another and they're going to be confused. So let's let this play out though.
Well, it's peak dining hour, so
When's off-peak dining hour?
midnight to 6 a.m.
You're open that late?
No, we are not. And what can I get for you?
I will also have the chicken piccata.
All right, yours will be $39.95, and
But whenever you asked him, you said it was $24.95.
I know it's so popular right now.
Okay.
So Jose, do you want to comment on the wild price swings that they're talking about here?
Yeah, so this is more of the same imagery that most consumers have because we've been dealing with airlines and hotel rates changing day by day. And the later that you order, the worse it gets. Or if it's last minute, you could get a good deal. How risky is that, right? So this is the same scheme of things, so to speak, that they are inserting here on a table in a restaurant and between three people that actually want to order the same thing. It is kind of like how it works in hotels and airlines, why not? But it definitely is different from online ordering.
Yeah, and I just want to add the actual prices that they're talking about here. There's about a $12 difference between the two customers. And as we mentioned before, dynamic pricing in the restaurant industry, the price fluctuations are in the cents, not the dollars. So companies that we've seen roll this out really, really effectively are on average changing prices between 5 and 15 cents per item, not 10 and $12.
It's not going to be a painful difference for the consumer. It will not break the bank like hotels and airlines may. Will not compromise your eating unless there may be some situations where you're like, okay, the total of the bill, like, maybe you can review it, but it's online, you're in control of it. And I think that there is even some interest to deter or people for consider ordering something when a kitchen is super busy, right? So it just works very differently, and this is what makes it funny. And so let's keep going because
It's
I think
hyperbole, I guess. So, okay, let's keep it going.
Don't forget that then. How much is the ravioli?
The ravioli is $17.95.
All right, I will have the ravioli.
Okay.
You know what? That sounds good. I'll change my order to the ravioli as well.
Yours will be $23.95.
I thought you said $17.95.
Well, for her, it's $17.95. For you, it's $23.95, unless you don't want that first ravioli, in which case the price goes down slightly for him.
This isn't just not how it works.
That being said, I have something to point out here. These are all dissatisfied customers right there, right? So one thing that this also illustrates is the potential of how this could be done in a proper way. And again, one of my favorite things to point out to is the Dow Jones bar in Barcelona. And I think that what the Dow Jones bar did really well is that by displaying the tickers of the different beers and drinks, how the prices are changing, people actually are looking for, okay, the IPA, okay, I'm going to go for that one that it's at a good price. And people would socialize around it because it's gamified. Because in this environment, first of all, it's a joke. It's a sketch. But it does show the little bit of what could be started if this was even in real life in a restaurant and changing prices live. People would be coordinating to actually get the best deals on things. So that kind of like signals of socialization and interaction between the people to actually achieve something. Boycott that beer.
That's right. So short a stop, short
Yeah.
a menu item, and drive up the price of another and manipulate the market. That is a sketch that I would like to see. Is the gamification, the Dow Jones bar in Barcelona, how they are playing the stock market and driving prices of drinks up or down by collectively shorting different items, making it a fun environment. If you guys did a sketch on that, I have a feeling that you'd get a much better reaction and maybe a little bit more fun and involved instead of, I don't know really what this is. And I'm pretty sure they didn't get a good reaction in the writer's room on the next day on this sketch.
Yeah, I think when the other piece that it's missing here, because then sabotages the joke, is the transparency. And that's what the Barcelona bar does well, is that by displaying the tickers like a stock market, it is fully gamified. You can see it, it's transparent, the changes, it even has, arrows and stuff where it's trending. I mean, who wouldn't have fun with that?
Exactly. And it's digital. They've got a digital menu board where they can change the prices, whereas you can't do it with a physical menu. So it just doesn't work. And that's the big piece that they're missing, among other things.
Yeah.
All right, let's let Jimmy wrap up this sketch.
Maybe you would like the dinner pool instead?
What's a dinner pool?
It's when we put all the food in a bucket and you share it with another table.
No thanks. I think I will just go back to the chicken piccata.
Okay, and you?
Now I don't know. What's the least popular item on the menu?
That would be the salmonella.
Hilarious.
It's pronounced salmonella. It's named, the chef's mother's name was Ella. She died of food poisoning. It's 1995 in honor of the year she passed away.
Okay, I'll take that.
Fresh ground pepper. You want me to keep going? It is $2.
We don't have plates.
Yes, plates are $3.
Maybe we should leave.
Yeah, you could do that, but there's a cancellation fee of $250. I've already charged that.
Okay. Now they're saying restaurateurs are gouging customers by charging them for plates and pepper and cancellation fees. And those don't exist in my experience. I've never gotten a cancellation fee or been charged for my plate. This kind of pisses me off, to be honest with you, because restaurateurs are under enough pressure and have slim enough margins. Now, mainstream comedy, late night shows are saying that they're gouging the everyday customer, that's complete BS. That kind of pisses me off.
Yeah, no, me too. And especially when there is some of these surcharges for certain things, a lot of it comes from regulation. So they can't avoid it, right? So putting the onus all on the operator in the restaurant, it's just so unfair.
Yeah, they're framing it as though they're frivolous markups and charges from costs that don't exist. And this isn't something that I initially really picked up on the first couple of times I watched this. And now watching it for the third time, I'm like, hold on a second. That's unfair to the restaurateur. Now they're pitting the customers against restaurateurs when that is the wrong thing to do.
I'd invite consumers, even ourselves and our listeners, because we're also consumers of restaurants, to think about the fact that actually groceries go up. We complain about groceries goes up. Everything is going up. Inflation is going up. But then the restaurant better keep the price at what it is. Have you considered that actually their supply also has an inflation, that their margins are getting smaller? Why they are just not able to adapt? But the consumer has been educated, trained, is so accustomed to get only changes once a year that it's hard to consider that may be hurting their favorite restaurant. And who doesn't get sad when the favorite restaurant, when you've been dreaming about having that meal that you love so much? I mean, I can go through a long list of restaurants I've loved throughout the years that at some point closed down. And if the National Restaurant Association is right, the 48% that declared bankruptcy last year, something to think about.
Yeah. Now I don't want to go all woke mob and not appreciate that. Yes, this is comedy. We've mentioned that a couple of times, that we are aware Jimmy Kimmel and their writers are poking fun at what's happening. But I think that the cost of everything with inflation is a hot button issue. And I think this is a cheap joke. And it's too easy to get a visceral reaction by saying a business, your local restaurant, is gouging you, is basically what they're saying with this sketch. And I think that is BS. I think strategic pricing is a necessary tool that all businesses need to use. And this is a cheap joke. And your average restaurant, your average business is not gouging you. They're trying to earn a living the same as you and me.
And they're trying to adapt with technology to make sure that they don't impact you. They care about you as the consumer, and they want to have you over and over and over again. That is the principle of service. So this inflames sometimes the concerns about some technologies to the restaurateurs themselves, and also educates the consumer with a hyperbole that I don't think it does justice to the industry itself.
All right, let's let him wrap up here because we're running short on time.
To your card.
We haven't canceled yet.
Let's go.
Well, thanks for coming, and don't forget to give us 5 stars. Wow, thank you, everybody.
You know, they're trying to be witty, and it's a low-hanging fruit in terms of comedy because it is so easy to make a joke around.
I don't even think it's low-hanging fruit. I think that's what they call a cheap joke. They're trying to get a reaction and really dig at how difficult it is for people to pay their bills nowadays. They're getting people to point their finger at their local restaurateur for price gouging when that is absolutely the wrong conversation to be having. It's big corporations that we should be pointing our fingers at. They're the ones that have unfairly raised their prices. We've gone through this in the past, so I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. But again, cheap joke by Jimmy Kimmel. Not a funny sketch. It really wasn't a funny sketch, but I am still glad that the conversation is being had because dynamic pricing is a very useful tool for all businesses, not just restaurateurs. That's all the time we have for this episode. Thanks for tuning in. Until next week, say goodbye, Jose.
Goodbye, Jose.
Thanks, everyone.